I think that when you have a really good program, you have individuals that are coming in and achieving, not just in the pool, not just in the classroom, but also in their community. I think that that adds a value. It may not necessarily have a specific numerical value to it, but it does have a significant value. I think that also within HBCUs, there is the old mindset of Blacks don't swim, and that people of color should not go near the water. I mean, I remember hearing that growing up from, friends of my parents and my grandparents, et cetera, that old mindset and those old myths are still there because we have not done a significant enough job of getting the messaging out there that those are just that. Those are myths.
Thank you for joining us today on The Journey. I'm Jeff Commings, along with my co-host, Molly Harmon. Now, everyone who follows the Olympics usually watches the top athletes in the world try to get themselves on the medal podium and bring some notoriety to their country. But the majority of athletes are just excited to get the invitation to go to the Olympics. And on today's show, we have Latroya Pina, who is preparing to compete in the Tokyo Olympics with her two siblings as representatives of the tiny African island nation of Cape Verde.
And joining Latroya on the show today will be Nick Askew, who is the head coach of the men's and women's swim teams at Howard University. Nick was Latroya's coach during her time at Howard, and if she qualifies for the Olympics, could definitely be counted as one of the reasons why she'll get to swim in Tokyo. So without further ado, let's welcome Latroya and Nick to the show. Hi guys, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey Molly, hey Jeff, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so Latroya, what influenced you to want to not only attend Howard University as a student, but to also be a part of the women's swimming program?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I actually had two of my really, really close friends attend Howard University, and they were both also on the swim team. So I kind of already got a glimpse of how the swim team was before entering Howard. I also, one of my other big decisions why choosing Howard was I grew up in Seccong, which is a majority white community, and I just wanted to change to be around, people who are like me and who are my color and, who are trying to achieve the same goals as me, not only just academically, but also in athletics. So those were really my choices, and Howard University is like a big family, especially our swim team. We're all still very, very close. We still talk to each other today. We set up Zoom calls just like this and goof around about the past and see where everyone is, just catch up. So it was definitely the best choice I made.
So you say you grew up in the northeastern part of the United States. How much were you thinking about staying close to home?
Oh, wow. So I wasn't too concerned about staying close to home. I kind of, when I found out about Howard, I was kind of like, that's where I want to go. So for me, Howard is like about a 9-hour drive from where I am now. Sometimes shorter, depends on how you hit New York and Connecticut. Those really are the biggest factors. But yeah, so being too close to home wasn't really a factor of mine. The real big choices for me was, trying to see, I wanted to be somewhere that everyone was like me and looked like me. So that was really the reason why I chose Howard. And it's a great academic school. So that was another big choice for me. And I knew swimming there I'd be fine. So I was excited. That was really, I don't know, that was the best choice I made. So can't complain.
Yeah, obviously it's got very well for you. So Nick, what did you see in Latroya personally as an athlete and a student, as an all-around person, that convinced you that she could be a good asset for the swim team?
Well, first, big shout out to Sydney Cooper, Scoop, and MJ, Michaela Johnson, who were the two individuals she's talking about. I think that she knew from age group swimming before she got to Howard. I like to say that I had the inside track about her. They spoke so highly about her, as her character, really stood out to me in the conversations that I had with NJ and Scoop. They were saying, hey, this young up and coming young lady, she's a swimmer, she's fast, coach, we need her. And at that point in time, Latroya was a part of my very first recruitment class. And it was exciting to me to be able to really dig into, who would be that very first group and who was going to be a part of helping the program advance the way I wanted to advance it as I got started. Got a chance to set up a call with Latroya, and let me tell you, we had a very good conversation. I don't think that when I got off that call, I had any doubt that she needed to be at Howard. She just really stood out to me as being someone that I wanted to be a part of the program to help us move the program forward. And then, as she came, her times were obviously exactly, in the line that we wanted them to be. And we felt like we could see a future in her development.
So I would imagine a lot of people watching this show don't know a lot about Howard University, and particularly its history in swimming. Now, just for those watching, it's one of 105 universities in the United States that are categorized as historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCU. And they're mostly in the southern states, many of which were formed in the years immediately after the Civil War as a way to give Blacks an entry into higher education when other universities were keeping them out. So Howard University's swim team right now has a distinction that I find very quite shocking in 2020, is that since 2016, it's been the only HBCU in Division I with an intercollegiate swim team. And thankfully, that's both men and women. So Nick, why do you believe that other HBCU schools have dropped their swim teams?
That's a question I get asked often, and quite honestly, I give the same answer. I think it's a lack of value amongst the leadership at the different institutions, whether it be an athletic department or even higher up. And because I honestly don't think that it's strictly financial. I mean, we even look at some of the institutions right now that are losing their programs, and the big cry or reason that they're saying is because of finances, they're going to save this amount of money. And, quite honestly, I just don't buy it. I've been able to see what the financials look like to be able to run the program on all the different sides and facets. And there's no question that there is a financial portion to it that's there. But I think that when you have a really good program, you have individuals that are coming in and are achieving, not just in the pool, not just in the classroom, but also in their community. I think that adds a value. It may not necessarily have a specific numerical value to it, but it does have a significant value. I think that also within HBCUs, there is the old mindset of Blacks don't swim, and that people of color should not go near the water. I mean, I remember hearing that growing up from, friends of my parents and my grandparents, et cetera, that old mindset and those old myths are still there because we have not done a significant enough job of getting the messaging out there that those are myths. That Blacks' bone density is heavier, and that's the reason they can't swim, and that Black girls aren't going to swim because they don't want to mess their hair up. And, those are realities that we deal with every single day. And I think that at the highest levels, people are still buying into that, and they haven't done enough, and they haven't gathered enough information about why those things are not true, and why the significance of our sport is important, because at the end of the day, swimming is a life skill, and that everyone needs to know how to swim because their life may depend on it at some point or another. And being a historically Black college and university, we have, in my opinion, we have a responsibility to our community. When you look at the different statistics of Blacks drowning at 65% of Blacks have limited or no swimming ability. And being an HBCU, we have an opportunity to be able to do something about that on the ground level, as well as be able to show from a swimming and diving at a competitive level what you can aspire to be for that younger generation.
Well, Latroya, it must give you a sense of pride that you are at least showing people that all those myths and stereotypes definitely aren't true.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know a while back, a group of us, we did a BBC on like about the hair myth, like it was a group of us from Howard. The whole hair thing, especially for females, it's like a big thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to mess up my hair. And it's like, you have to learn how to take care of your hair. Everyone has different hair textures and different hair types. Even like your white friends have to figure out how they can take care of their hair just like we do. Ours is a little bit, more than theirs, but everyone can do it. If it's something you really want to do, you'll figure it out. And I think that's just where people need to realize that if you really want to do it, you would figure out how to do it. So
yeah. So Nick, not only are you the current head coach at Howard, but you also swam on the team. So you've seen the history of Howard from both sides. What convinced you that you wanted to go there?
Well, it's not a complicated story, but it's a long story. The biggest
That's
thing
all
is
right. We're here for it.
the biggest influence, honestly, was I had two parents who were very strong-minded in terms of raising three boys that had a ton of energy. And they found that being involved in swimming wore us out to the point where all we wanted to do when we got home was to first eat and then go to sleep. So that gave them peace of mind and within the household. And again, with my two older brothers, they both attended Howard University, and my middle brother actually swam and was a captain for the program while he was here for his 4 years. So, looking at them as role models and kind of blazing the path for me was very significant. And then as I got to the opportunity to make a college decision, there were only two men's programs that were HBCUs, and it was very important for me to swim for a Division I institution that was an HBCU. And at that time, it was only Florida A&M and Howard University. Visited Florida, really enjoyed it, but I knew my heart was bleeding blue, and that I needed to be a Bison, and it was going to be a special part of my life. So I attributed, one, that there were only two options for me in terms of what I had identified as what was important. And then two, having that significance of that family backing and those role models made the choice for me.
And what events did you specialize in when you were a swimmer?
For me, I was a breaststroker. I like to say that I dabbled in the sprint freestyle, and I also was an IMer.
Oh, very good. We got a lot of breaststrokers on the show today. That's great. Breaststroke power.
Yes, breaststroke is the heart and soul, baby.
Yes, it is.
So, there's been a lot of improvement over the time that you started coaching there, Nick, and that's great. But I think one thing that everybody's hoping to be celebrating next year is having Latroya compete at the Tokyo Olympics. And correct me if I'm wrong, she would be the first Olympian for the school in any sport. Is that right?
For Howard, no, not at all. No.
Ah, well, that's good to hear.
No,
well, she's
the latest.
Swimming.
She's the
I am
latest.
the latest.
That's good.
So within our history as a swimming and diving program, we actually had a few members that have participated in the Olympics. One of the most recent, other than Latroya, was Dr. Ngozi Manu, who swam for her country of Nigeria at the 2004 and 2008 Olympics, and as well as her younger sister also participated. Uche Manu were two of the latest that have participated. And then we also have Olympians that have gone in other sports. If you look at our current director of track and field and head coach, David Oliver is actually an Olympic medalist at the 2008 or 2012 Olympics. He's gonna beat me down when he sees me because I don't remember the date exactly.
I want to say it's 8.
I think so. But yeah, we definitely have some phenomenal athletes that have come from Howard and have come from HBCUs, all around. And we're happy to, support Latroya. We were everyone was anticipating, these upcoming months right here to be able to start the celebration parties and watch parties to watch her get ready to go off. But it's delayed. We'll wait until next summer this time, because Latroya has done so much for our program. She's been, you can just take a look, at how much energy she has, and that energy the entire team feeds off that, current and former team. And we're really looking forward to supporting her.
So Latroya, I read that you wanted to be an Olympian since you were 11 years old. When did you communicate this goal to Coach Nick?
So I actually never really spoke about it after like I was 11. Like, besides like my family, we used to always joke around about it. Like, haha, maybe we'll make an Olympic team for K-Bird, because K-Bird actually has never had an athlete participate in swimming. This is going to be their first time they'll have it in the Olympics. So we used to joke around saying like, you know, we're gonna swim for K-Bird, ha ha ha. And kind of after that, I just kept continuing on with my swimming. When I was 12, I won Boys and Girls Club Nationals, and I have like a video of it. And I was like, yeah, I hope I can make the Olympics sometime when I'm older. And I said it in the video, and now we play it back and we're like, wow, like this is really happening, you know, like this is something that I really am going to be able to do now, which I thought was a joke. Even Coach Nick knows when we were at school, I even thought it still was a joke that I got a message from K-Bird saying like, hey, would you like to be on the K-Bird swimming national team? And we were like, you know, this might be just a joke because it's like some random guys that send you a message. Like, you know, we were all like, it was when we went, I don't know if Coach Nick remembers, when we went to watch Black Panther as a swim team. That was when I first saw the message. And I was like, this is a joke. Like, people don't just text off of Facebook saying like, hey, would you like to join the national team of K-Bird? And it's like some old man. And you're kind of like, okay, this has to be a joke. Like, these guys are just trying to, you know, hoax me into something. You don't know, especially, you know, with the world today, how the world is today. But, you know, with the help of my family that still is there, and the help from the family that's here, my grandmother, who's still in contact with all of the family there, they looked up all of these people and kind of reassured us that they were who they actually said they were. So.
And Nick, what did it feel about having this awesome burden of helping get one of your athletes to the Olympics?
Latroya, I do remember we were at the movie theater. It was right after conference championships.
Yeah.
I remember you kind of letting go like a little squeal, like, you know, of excitement, but then there was this reluctance, like, I don't know if this is really real, but if it is, I kind of, you know, remember that thought or that feeling. And, you know, I just think it's amazing. As a swimmer, as an athlete, especially in an Olympic sport, that is the goal. It's you have the dreams when you're younger, and you see those, you see yourself, you almost have that visualization when you're training or you're competing that you're actually there, but you might only be in a little 4-lane pool, you know, in your community. So to have to think about Latroya or any athlete that's in our program having the opportunity to compete at that highest level, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It truly is. And you start to feel like, okay, wow, we need to get to work. This is the Olympics, you know? So you're like, okay, what can we do? You know, what are the next steps to be able to get there? And for me, it was uncharted territory because I've never actually had the privilege of coaching an Olympic athlete. So it was kind of like, all right, you know, let's ride this thing on out. Let's see, you know, what we can put together. But one of the other things that I wanted to maintain, and I hope I convey this to Latroya, is let's focus on right now. Let's not look too far ahead. You know, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You know, we still have our season. We're still training. We're still doing this. You know, that is absolutely there. And it sounds like it'll be what we're going to be shooting forward as we move. But we still have things ahead of us that we need to accomplish, you know, before we even get there. Let's not get too, and you know, and Latroya did it amazing. I mean, she continued to train, she continued to compete, you know, there throughout the season and even afterwards. So, you know, it's just exciting, you know, to have somebody have that opportunity.
Yeah, like you said, you're going to be having those big watch parties next year. So I know everybody associated with Howard is going to be just screaming at their televisions, waiting to see Latroya compete and represent and carry on that tradition, as you've been saying. So we want to just as I said at the top of the show, Latroya, you're going to have your two siblings who are Troy
Yeah.
and Jayla,
Mhm.
also competing in Tokyo. And all three of you got to compete at the 2019 World Championships in South Korea, which is an amazing experience as well.
Yeah.
So if you could help us understand how the qualification for competing for Cape Verde at the Olympics happens, because it's not just like the United States where you have an Olympic trials and you get top
Mhm.
two.
Okay, so they actually give you wildcards to countries who essentially have not participated in a given sport. So for us, we were given wildcards for swimming. So that's what made them essentially start to look for swimmers and to create this national team. Currently, there's me and my siblings, and there's one other girl who also swims with us. But she's from Portugal. She swims in Portugal. She swam a couple meets with us. When we went to Algeria, she came. She also came to the one where we went to China, I believe. Yeah, China. And then the others was just the three of us. Yeah, those meets are pretty interesting. They're kind of our first ones was we look back, we say we were rookies. So the first ones, especially Algeria, oh man, we look back on Algeria and we were like, we did not know anything about international swimming. It's like a whole different world from the US. In every aspect, even with just qualifying, it's such a different game, a ball game. They look a lot on how you place, how fast you're swimming. And for us, once they saw that we were legit swimmers, which was our first meet, they were like, oh yeah, we're ready. And they kind of just said that they're going to use our wild cards on us. And so we really didn't have like specific times that we had to reach. It's more, we're the first ones, and we're kind of setting the standard for the next up and coming Cape Verdean swimmers. So we want to build a foundation for swimming. So they actually just created a swim pool in Cape Verde. So we're trying to build swimming in Cape Verde with this opportunity. So
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a great opportunity for the exposure for the nation, and I hope it brings more people interested from your country. Now, the logistics obviously are very elaborate to get the Olympics. Training is probably the easiest part, I would imagine. Just get in the pool. But getting there is a little bit harder. Now, before the Olympics were postponed, what logistics were you going through to make sure everything was set for the three of you to be able to get to Tokyo?
Okay, so a lot of the things, we had a big meet that was supposed to come up. What was the day? Shucks, I forgot the date already. Look at me. Things switched now. It was a big African championship meet that we were all supposed to go to. And that was really the meet that was supposed to set the tone for our Olympic, for like the rest of the journey that we had between that meet and the Olympics. So we were trying to see, okay, that was our meet. How fast can we go right now? And then from there, based off of our times, see what we need to work on so that we could make it better. So that was mainly our focus at the time. It wasn't so much the Olympics. I would like to thank like our university. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all tongue-tied. Our federation did such a good job with keeping everything organized. So they already had taken our shirts, our pants, because they get like all your sizes, and they kind of work out more of that stuff, like working out what you're wearing during the walkout, when they go through like opening ceremonies, and they kind of work out on all of that stuff. For us, they try to keep us more focused on the swimming portion. So I will say that is one big help that our federation does keep. Like, they help us out on that portion. For us, we were kind of nervous on what to expect when we get there, because sometimes, you might think it's going to run one way, but it ends up running a totally different way than what you expected. So we were a little nervous about that, but mostly we were just trying to stay focused on the swimming. Yeah.
We're so excited for you, and we're so excited to see you and your swimmings competing in the pool in Tokyo next year. Nick, how has the environment or the atmosphere among the athletes on your team changed since Latroya not only swam at World Championships, but also got the chance to swim at the Olympics?
It's really exciting to see how the team feeds off of each other. We often talk about when one person does well, the entire team does well, and they really embody that because we celebrate each other, and Latroya's ability to go to the Olympics and to compete at the Olympics has created such a spark within the team, to see one of us, so to speak, to make it to that level. And it's almost like, while the team is training, we're all training to help Latroya get to that level and to be able to swim as fast as she possibly can and do amazing things. So it's just great to see that excitement and that energy, and to see the team feed off of each other as they go through their training regimen, as they're competing. They all keep in contact with each other, like Latroya was saying, at the top of the show. Her class and the graduates, they all communicate. And as a coach, I couldn't be more proud to see how much they continue to stay connected, because swimming will come and go, as we've seen. It can be stopped by something like COVID-19, but that connection, that friendship, that networking that they have, and that love that they have for one another is one of the things that I absolutely value as a coach. And to see them do that even outside of the pool, off the pool deck or outside of the pool, and continue it in life is just, again, it's really exciting to see them. And I'm excited for our team, who's, like, oh my gosh, who's going to be the next Olympian from the university, from our program. We want to follow that, because now we can actually see that if it's possible for Latroya, it could be possible for anybody else.
Right. You want to get somebody to represent the USA or another country at the Olympics. And that I hope that heritage doesn't stop with Latroya. I'm sure that's definitely one of your top goals that you have every day.
I'm sure it won't. I have complete faith in what Coach Nick has done with the team, and I'm 100% positive that they'll just continue to grow. Especially we, as Coach Nick stated earlier, we were his first recruit class, and just being able to see the change from when I first entered and into now, and me being a graduate now, it's just such a big difference and such a whole different team dynamic that it just makes you excited to see what's to come next for Howard University swimming.
Absolutely. So I think this is a good place to pause and continue our conversation on the next episode of The Journey. We got a lot more to talk about with Latroya, Pina, and Nick Askew. We just could not fit it into one show. So on the next episode, we're going to learn about their beginnings in the sport and how they overcame a lot of the cultural obstacles to help shine a light on Black swimmers in the United States and around the world. So we'll see you then. And remember, it's not just about the destination, it's also about the journey.